Hi, everyone. What a game. What a game. This is why we love cricket. India takes it in the end. I'm feeling really gutted for the West Indies. I live in an area with a lot of the Windies community here in Southern Florida, so very gutted for them. But India, the mentality, it's there. The mental side of the game. So India pulled off a miracle, in my opinion, in Eden Gardens. I think West Indies were so good in their innings, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And this kind of proves India is never out of it. Again, we know this. We know this from the last few ICC tournaments. India is never out of a match. India is never out of a tournament. But they're never, and I'm even going back through this tournament thinking about that first match against the U.S. for obvious sentimental purposes. We had them on the ropes, we being the U.S. They found a way out. They found a way out today again. Got out of jail. That's the expression we use here in the United States. That's what they did. So what a match. Before we get to that, going through the match, congratulations to South Africa. Another win. They're unbeaten in this T20 World Cup. They're the only side that remains unbeaten. Now, of course, they had to go to 2 super overs to beat Afghanistan. So really, I don't consider them totally unblemished, because going to a super over means the match was level. But congratulations to them. So India goes 199 for 5. West Indies were 195 for 4. India could not get a wicket early in the Windies innings. Hetmeyer, brilliant as always. I really questioned, as I talked about in the short that I recorded between the innings, that I thought Sky made some mistakes with who he had bowl the overs in terms of both the power play overs and then some of the middle overs. Bumrah ultimately does get four overs, but he gets hit pretty badly during the death overs that he bowled. He bowled 2 death overs, and it took India forever to get a wicket. Windies felt like they were in control of the match. But you know you're playing India. You know you're at Eden Gardens. You know the crowd is behind them. You know that they have the pedigree and that they have the individual talent when everything else breaks down. So India sloppy in the field. There were a couple drop balls. Abhishek had another poor match. He had a poor match batting again in that opening partnership, which did not work for India again. And he dropped 2 balls in the field. So those are 2 wickets they could have had. But Sanju, who has had an inconsistent tournament, 97 off of 50 balls, almost 2 a ball, when wickets were falling around him, and India wasn't getting the rate of runs they needed, even when guys were keeping their bats alive, and that includes the captain, Sky. It's the highest individual score in a T20 World Cup chase for India, eclipsing Kohli's epic 82 that I remember against Australia. I think he may have had that score. He may have had that score also against Pakistan in 2022. And Romario Shepherd, who has been such a great bowler for the West Indies in this tournament, and when the Windies needed him most, 2 very loose deliveries that Samson rattled home, and that was the match. Did not expect that. So India's innings, Abhishek, who had dropped 2 balls, 2 pretty routine catches. One he just dropped. The other, he started his run late, misjudged the ball, still should have had it. So those were 2 West Indies batters that stayed alive in their innings for them to post at 195 that would have been gone earlier. And Abhishek and Kishan fell cheaply in the power play. And let's contrast that to the Windies power play, where India, they had the 1 drop, as I mentioned, from Abhishek. One of those was in the power play. The other, they had another opportunity where Windies runners were caught between the stumps, and if you just toss it to the wicket keeper, you get at least 1 out. Instead, there was a wild attempt to hit the stumps, hit the other stumps, and misses. And not only did the Windies not lose a wicket there, I think they may have actually picked up an additional run, which of course could have proved critical considering how close this match was. There was, I think, absolute chaos at times in India's field setup as well, which the Windies were able, the man on strike standing in the crease was able to kind of pinpoint, okay, they've moved things. This is, again, uncharacteristic from India. It is hard to repeat once you've won in any international competition. If you won the World Cup or the Euros in football, if you've won the gold medal in Olympic basketball, in team sports, it's tough to repeat in the very next tournament. We know that. But the efficiency of India that we saw in the 2024 edition of this tournament, which they won, and then in the Champions Cup, we have not seen in this tournament. We're seeing fielding errors, we're seeing loose deliveries with the bowling, we're seeing the field alignment be messed up, we're seeing mistakes in running between the stumps. I go back to that US game, that match was a comedy of errors for India, and they got out because there was one critical error from a US runner, from Milind Kumar, and then there was, of course, as I keep mentioning, the injury to Ali Khan, the US's best bowler, who would have bowled 2 overs in the death overs, where India did kind of post a score in those last few overs. So, and there was some really poor fielding in the match against the Netherlands. For those of you, I know that was a dead rubber match, but it's just been these signs. Yet, there is still a mentality. There is still a ruthlessness about India. So they find the guy. Today it's Sanson. Against the U.S., it was Sky. You know, it's been a different player in a different match. So why were the Windies so tough in their innings? Holder, as we talked about, Hetmeyer, Powell, all were good. And in the last 6 overs, 76 runs between Holder and Powell without losing their wicket. Holder, though, made a mistake in the field. So I'm talking about India's mistakes in the field. Holder made a mistake in the field. And Bumrah, while I criticized his kind of loose bowling late in the death overs, West Indies they were on a trajectory where they were going to hit 215, 220 if Bumrah had not settled things in the 2 middle overs he bowled and got the critical wicket he got. Actually, he took 2 wickets in that. It was Hetmeyer and Chase. The 2 wickets no other Indian bowler could get. Now, there has to be a question about why Sky waited till then to give Bumrah an over. It works out, but those first 8 overs, India's bowling was at times comical. And when the deliveries were fine, we know the fielding wasn't fine, or there were wild attempts to try and hit the stumps instead of tossing it to the wicketkeeper. I'll be honest, because India is, and as someone who comes from, who has worked most of my life, my professional life, in another sport, which is football, soccer, as we call it here in the States, but football for the rest of you, and that's what I call it. We tend to scrutinize Brazil and Germany more than we scrutinize other national teams. And so I think that's the case in this sport. We scrutinize India and we scrutinize Australia and maybe England to a certain extent. Well, in football, we scrutinize England more than anyone, actually, too. So I am poking holes in India. I am also very much of the mind that now that they've gotten to the semifinals, they're probably going to win the tournament, even if they have to play South Africa again. Because mentality-wise, ruthlessness, finding ways through these matches, resiliency, they have it all. And they have a deeper side than other teams. So now we're looking at the match on Thursday, which will be at the Vakende, which will be India and England. England, who have also lots of question marks around them. There's going to be plenty of time to preview that match, and we're going to do that. The other semifinal will be New Zealand with the great opening partnership that they have of Seifert and Allen facing off against those pace bowlers, and you're going to see a lot of Ndidi, of Lungo and Rabada in those in that power play to try and get one of those two guys wickets. So that's going to be a fascinating semifinal. Also, we will get to previewing the semifinals in the next few days. So thank you for watching again. Thank you for all your support beyond the boundary and from the pavilion, really taking off during this tournament. And we are committed to covering cricket permanently. This is not just a World Cup based newsletter or podcast or YouTube channel. So want y'all to tell your friends, subscribe. Really appreciate it. I want to once again thank the Boca Raton Tribune for sponsoring us, your closest neighbor here in southern Florida, southeastern Florida, where I live. So we will be back with you probably tomorrow. If we're not back with you on Monday, we will be back with you Tuesday to start previewing the semifinals. I believe we'll be back with you tomorrow, and we're gonna really break this down.